welcome back to my YouTube channel. I hope you're all really well. First off, if you notice I keep looking down, that's because the baby is right there in his crib in the living room. He was fast asleep until I literally sat down to do this, which is so annoying. But he is just like looking around and he seems quite settled, so I'm hoping he's going to go back to sleep, but I'm not sure because he's been very unsettled today when I've been home, and I was like, oh, he slept great the last day or so I can just put him down and I can get some filming done, and he must have heard that, and yeah, but he's just laying there, so I'm just going to crack on. And if he kicks off, then I will pick him up and he will just have to continue filming with me. But welcome to my channel if you are new here, and welcome back if you are a returning subscriber. He's just making some funny noises there. Apologies for this intro. Is Mummy going to have to get you out? I think I'm going to have to get him out. Bear with me. We do have a little visitor on the video who did not want to stay in his crib. He is wide awake, so I thought I would just give him a little cuddle whilst we crack on with the video, but let's get on with it. So welcome back. Thank you for coming to today's video. It's a bit of a different one, it's a bit of a raw and honest one, but I think it's also a very important one to film, which you can see from the title. But a bit, if you are new to my channel, what you can expect from my bit of the internet is, obviously I did all things pregnancy. I had a high risk pregnancy with him, so I covered all of that off. So if you are currently going through a high risk pregnancy, it might be worth a watch. We do all things motherhood, toddlerhood, because I do have a toddler as well. So I currently have he'll be 3 at the end of September, so at the end of this month he'll be 2 years, 9 months. Are you cooing there, mister? Hello. So yeah, I currently have a toddler as well as this little man, so it's very hectic in our household. And I do hauls, hello darling, Vinted hauls, and oh, is that right, are you joining in? Are you joining? And I do reviews on products, all my own. Hello, you want to see the camera? They're all my own, I don't get asked to do them or paid to do them, so they are very truthful. Oh hello. Come on then, do you want to turn around? You want to say hi to YouTube? Okay. Hello. Oh, I think you might be trying to do a poo. You might be trying to do a poo-poos. Aren't you? Yeah. So, here is little man. He has got a name. I'm not going to announce it just yet. I'm literally waiting until he's officially registered, because I just feel like, hello, I feel like we could change our minds at any time, so I'm going to wait till he's registered to start calling him by his name, like on YouTube or on Instagram, and that's not long away, so make sure you follow my Instagram if you want to know what he's called. Put your guesses in the comments below. Oh dear, you got wind, mister. But yeah, I thought I could stop filming, but that's not the realities of motherhood, so I'm just going to carry on, because I could wait and pretend that it's all hunky-dory, and that's not motherhood. You need to film these things when you've got to film them. Alright darling, I know. Oh pardon, it's because you fell asleep straight after your bottle and wouldn't give me any wind. I know. Come on, shall we film a YouTube video? Shall we? Good boy. Obviously, before we get into today's video, as always, if I could ask, if you haven't subscribed already, please do consider subscribing to my channel. Oh, darling. It's alright. It's alright. This little man would love you to subscribe to my channel. I am currently trying to hit 1,000 subscribers. So I can only do that with your help. And obviously I do want to make some sort of side hustle and career out of YouTube. And I can, like I said, I can only do that with you guys. So thank you so much if you do go on to do that. And if you have already, again, thank you so much. Are you okay? Are you a bit more settled? Yeah? Good boy. So today's video is what I'm going to call like my postnatal like mental health check-in. It's a bit of everything. Obviously he's now 5 weeks old and there's a lot that's happened in the 5 weeks and from his birth. This will be going out after my birth story, so you'd have seen my birth story and you'll know that it wasn't smooth or anything like that. So yeah, not fun. And I'm currently still under the birth trauma team Ocean at my hospital, which we will talk about in this as well. I thought this would be a good one to like update you in because it's all about like mental health. So yeah, I figured I'd put it in this vlog. If you can hear like whirring, it's because I've got the fan on. It might be raining outside, but it's bloody hot. So I have still got the fan on over there. But yeah, I thought let's just catch up, and I think this is a really oh darling, a really interesting video to do. Yes it is. What's the matter? Where's your dummy gone? Is it gone behind me? Because I think when you get pregnant, first, second, hold up, I'll be back. There we go. He seems a little bit more settled now. I don't know what's wrong with him today, but my god, he just is all about mummy cuddles. Literally, any time I put him down, he'll stay down for a little bit and then he's just up. Like he's almost looking for a feed, and it's only been an hour. So, yeah. Are you furrowing your brows at me? I know, darling. It's okay. And just lay there and relax. Okay? But anyways, back to today's video. I just thought it was a really important one to do because I think, you know, twofold. You get sold this very unrealistic pregnancy, motherhood postcard, I think, that, you know, it's all beautiful and rosy, and don't get me wrong, it is in parts, but my god, it's hard, and it's not always plain sailing that they tell you it is. And you know, I just think it's realistic for, you know, if people like me, you know, are on the internet and do make, you know, YouTube videos, that we do share our sort of real life and what has happened. And also, motherhood is lonely. Like, it's really lonely. I thought this time, you know, not being in lockdown, not being in COVID times, you know, not being in neonatal, well, technically not being in neonatal, we'll get to that. I thought it wouldn't be as lonely, but it is. You know, I am literally sat here, you know, my husband's at work, my toddler's at nursery because we pay for it, so he's still going and I don't want him to lose his place. Especially for it's 3 hours. So I'm literally sat in with my newborn, and yeah, it's great. We've cuddled and, you know, he slept on me and we've done sensory, and that's great, but it's very lonely. Like, I've not spoken to anyone, and that's lonely. And I thought, given that we're not in like pandemic times, that it would feel different because I have the freedom to go and do what I want, but it's really odd. I don't know, it's very odd. So I thought this would be a really important video to do, to talk through sort of my mental health postnatal journey so far. There's a couple of points that I'm going to go through. I've got my little notepad here that I have written down over the last few weeks since he's been born. They may not all apply to everyone. Hello. But obviously you can take from it what you wish, what you will. So my first point to sort of check in on is, this time round I think I definitely did suffer with the baby blues. I was very super sort of heightened and emotional when I came home, and I did obviously Google like the difference between baby blues and postnatal depression, and I'll put like a screenshot here of what the difference is, and I'll link like the NHS link down below in case anyone wants to check it out, with no shame and no judgment. You know, if you want to check this out, then to preserve your mental health, then absolutely please do so. But like I said, I'll pop it on the screen and I will pop a link down below. But yeah, I was just super sort of heightened and emotional, you know, crying over like the silliest thing, which a couple of things I will get into. Well, they kind of will lead on to that, I suppose. You know, I was worried I wasn't spending enough time with Tommy, and I was crying whilst he was sat next to me, and I was playing with him, or I was giving him a cuddle whilst we were watching TV, or, you know, I was literally right there with him, and I was worried I wasn't spending enough time with him. I worried about things, you know, were we doing enough on Adam's paternity leave as a family? Were we wasting time? You know, if we just stayed in, I was like, oh no, we can't do that. Like, this is time we won't have off again together. You know, it was just silly things like that. And like, obviously he had to go back to I'm just going to get the difference between baby blues and postnatal depression as well whilst I'm thinking about it. He had to go back into hospital because he had an eye infection, and I just felt super guilty about that. You know, it was my choice to get him checked out. Obviously Adam supported it. Like, he was like, that's fine, let's go get him checked. And I took him in just expecting it to be like, here's some eye drops, off you pop, like, go home. It turned into another 4-day stay. So as you can imagine, obviously the guilt that came with that, and being away from Tommy, and, you know, taking that time away from the time we were meant to be at home together, you know, just all of that just really got on top of me. So I've got the differences here. So baby blues, feeling restless or anxious, impatient or grumpy, crying for no reason. I've done a lot of that. Feeling like I'm not myself today, finding it hard to concentrate, sadness, mood changes. Starts a few days after giving birth and goes away within a few weeks. And PPD is, or PND, feeling overwhelming guilt, sadness or panic, being afraid of staying alone, crying, anxiety or worrying a lot, feeling hopeless and like you're not good enough, no energy or finding hard to focus, weight loss, weight gain or appetite changes, scary thoughts about yourself or your baby, and usually starts within 1 to 3 weeks of giving birth or any time up to 1 year, and will need treatment to get better. I find that list a bit weird anyway, because, you know, I worry a lot anyway, and I do get like an overwhelming sense of guilt. I had that before I had babies. So, but the biggest trigger on that, why I think I don't have it, is because I have like no fear. I don't have like the thoughts of harming myself or him, so I don't think that I've got postnatal depression. But I would definitely have had the baby blues. Alright, darling. I think they've gone away. Obviously there's some days where, you know, as a mum you think, oh, could I be doing more? Am I doing everything right? Should I be doing this? You know, today for example, it's the most random thing. I'm starting to try and get ideas to finish his nursery, because I've got this real like guilt that his nursery isn't done, which is stupid because he's not even in there, but I really want it done. And like when we finalise his name, I want to get stuff up in there. And I've just got this thing of, well, he's not going to have this Instagram perfect nursery. You know, he's not going to have all this Scandi vibe. I can't afford to do a nursery like they do on Instagram, okay? I don't have that kind of money. I don't know who has that kind of money, but I certainly don't. So there'll be a few new bits in there that makes it his own. But that's kind of like the fear of today, is he's not going to have this perfect, stunning, Instagrammable nursery, which is stupid, because who cares? You know, it's just little things like that. Like, it just really they're the things that get to me at the minute. But anyways, I've digressed from baby blues, I really have, which is so silly. It's very, very silly, isn't it? And then I think another part of it is naming him. That's come really hard this time with Tommy. His wires came off when he was in neonatal, and we just knew his name, and that was it. And it just felt right this time with him. You know, all throughout pregnancy we couldn't decide on a name, and we thought it would be a certain name, and it hasn't turned out to be that name. And the name we do like, people have got a lot of opinions on and don't necessarily like it. And I think when you're already feeling like quite down in yourself anyway, having that input, I know, is quite hard, and takes away a little bit of the joy. So yeah, that's quite hard, and I think that does overall affect sort of your head. Ultimately, his name will be his name, and if people don't like it, they'll have to get on board and just move on. But like I said, I've got another 10 days until he's officially registered. So we think it could be going down as one name. At the last minute we could change our minds, but I'm not going to announce his name on here just yet until he's super official, like legally. So yeah, I think that played a little bit into it. People have had their opinions on his name, and it's made me question, and daily I go backwards and forwards on his name, and yeah, it's just not fun. It's definitely been that meme of, you don't realise how much you dislike people until naming a baby. That's definitely true. Obviously, you would have seen from my Instagram, baby boy did have to go and stay in neonatal for a day. And I know it was only a day, it sounds very dramatic, but one of my biggest fears my whole pregnancy was having a baby early again and him requiring to go to neonatal. But I'd always said to like when I was in therapy and to my birth trauma midwife, I said, I've just got this feeling I will go full term, but there'll be something that goes wrong and he'll end up in neonatal. And they were like, no, don't be silly. And I was right. Because he wasn't feeding, he had to go to neonatal and have a tube to feed him for 24 hours, which was obviously quite horrific for my mental health, because obviously I put so much work into, you know, getting to a space where I was okay with what had happened to Tommy, and I was prepared kind of for the eventuality that it could happen again, but I didn't want it to. And one of the things it was really hard is he was a full-term baby in neonatal, and it almost felt like I had to justify myself, because these parents they probably weren't, but I felt like they were looking at me when obviously he was being like checked in, and they were like, oh yeah, 39 plus 2. They were like, what's she, because I was literally like hysterical, and I had to almost like, whilst being hysterical, be like, oh, it's because of my like first baby was in here and he was born really early, and I had to like justify why I was so upset. And then in the midst of that, I had, you know, this overwhelming, you know, what's the word, empathy for the parents that were there now, because I always, like, I knew exactly how they feel, because I've been there. And that was really like, I didn't expect that. I thought, you know, I mean, I obviously expect to feel empathy. Like, I don't wish anyone having a premature baby on my worst enemy at all. Like, it's horrific. But I didn't realise how much it would hit me, you know, sitting there, and I was looking at him, and it, you know, he just wasn't feeding. You know, it was bad, but it wasn't, you know, it wasn't a life-threatening thing. Do you know what I mean? It wasn't something that it was going to require him staying in hospital for weeks and weeks and weeks, like it was with Tommy. And I wasn't prepared for how hard my empathy for other parents who were now in that situation would hit me. So again, that took a toll on sort of my mental health, and again, having to justify why I was so upset that my full-term baby was in neonatal. Like, how dare I? But obviously I was explaining to the nurses, and you know, they understood why I was so upset, and yeah, so it was fine. But again, it just plays with your mind, and you've just given birth, so your mind's completely fucked anyway. So, excuse my language, but it is. And then obviously just moving on to still being under the ocean team, you know, that's, well, it's just something in itself, isn't it? Actually, one thing I will add before I move on to the ocean team with the neonatal is, it was really discouraging, because I had written so much in my birth plan and my notes. You know, I didn't want to leave my baby and things like that. And it's just, that hospital, the left hand doesn't talk to the right hand. Like, it's a joke. And I will be making a complaint, but we'll talk about that in a minute. But it was like, the maternity ward was like, well, you can go home, it's fine. And it was like, no, my baby's still here, but you're fine. Right. I've left this hospital without my child before. I won't be doing that again. There is absolutely no way I was leaving that hospital without leaving with him. Like, the thought of never taking my children home with me after I'd given birth is like soul destroying. But I obviously had to weigh that up with the guilt that I was missing out on being with Tommy. And, you know, I mean, I say he was missing me, he probably wasn't, but he was having a brilliant time, to be fair. But I had to weigh up that Tommy was okay if I'd left him in a couple more days. Weighing that up against me leaving the hospital without him, how damaging that would be to me. Unfortunately, it sounds terrible to say it out loud, but you'll get it, is I had to be incredibly selfish at the time, because my mental health would be more damaged than Tommy staying an extra night at my parents'. Like, he was having a great time and he didn't care. Like, he was fine. If I'd have left that hospital, I wouldn't have been fine, and I wouldn't be fine. And it just wouldn't have ended well. So that's also another thing you have to, you know, comprehend, is you're trying to do the best for your toddler, at the cost of yourself, but actually is that cost too much? And at that time, yeah, it was, and I had to make that decision. Luckily, it was only 24 hours later I came home, thank God. But yeah, I think if you are going through something similar, if you are watching this, if you have to be selfish, then do it, please, for your own mental health, within reason, obviously. But it was absolutely the right thing to do for me, and you know, I left with him, and I needed that after not leaving with Tommy. I couldn't have gone through that again. So yeah, anyways, we'll move, because that like literally makes my heart hurt. And then yeah, I'm still under the Ocean team. God, this is going on longer than I really wanted it to, but never mind, it's fine. So I had an appointment last week with the Ocean team, and again, what's really sad is I put all this hard work and effort, and so did the Ocean team, into, you know, getting me into such a good place to give birth to him. And I was so positive about it, and you know, I knew I maybe wasn't going to get the water birth, or you know, for example, I might not have given birth on all fours. I mean, I may have not done that anyway, but you know, one of the things was I didn't want to give birth on my back. I did. We moved. But I thought I was going in to have a really positive birth experience, whatever that was and however it looked. I thought, I'm going in and it will be positive, and it wasn't. And this is the time that I should be celebrating being discharged from the Ocean team, and I'm not. I'm still under them, and I feel incredibly guilty that, you know, I'm almost taking up someone's space. This could be used for someone else. And I also feel incredibly guilty towards the service itself, because they've put so much hard work and effort into, you know, getting me into such a good place to give birth to him, for their own hospital trust to completely rip it to shreds. And in theory, making their job almost pointless, because they're not going to carry on all the good work they're doing within the maternity unit. You know, I'm not saying this literally, because I think I wouldn't have survived the pregnancy without them. But what is the point in them doing their job? Because it's not being listened to on the other side. And yeah, I mean, it's a whole bigger picture. Like I said, I will be making a formal complaint to the hospital. I will be requesting my notes, because obviously I need people's names to make my complaint. And I have given my birth trauma midwife sort of the lowdown of what happened, and she's actually going to pass it back to her boss about what happened. And they're not impressed at all, so they are going to feed it back. They obviously will have access to my notes, so they can kind of put all the pieces together their end. But yeah, I think that's one of the things that is also quite sad, is I just wanted a positive birth experience. All I asked for was to labour positively. You know, I just wanted to be in a room, labour away, just do it nicely. And, you know, that basic need of wanting to do that wasn't even given to me. And yeah, it's quite sad, and I don't want that to happen to anyone else. But obviously, yeah, that will be going in the complaint. And it was just little things, you know. I know I make a joke of it, but to not even bring me tea and toast afterwards. They didn't even bring me a jug of water, and I was in that room for 4 hours. And like, at the time, I know you could probably put in the comments, well, why didn't you ask for one? Okay, I had Lucozade, and I was drinking that, and I was on the high of giving birth and holding him and things like that. But a basic need after giving birth, you think that they would bring you a water. It's just things like that they just all add up from having like the really shit experience again. Because effectively they told me I wasn't in labour again, and I was, and my body was telling me I was, and they wouldn't listen to me. And I think that's the thing, is they just don't listen. And one of the saddest things is, he could be my last child, and I will have to go through life knowing I never got to birth positively, ever. Like, positives came out of it, don't get me wrong, it was different from Tommy. Like, I got to hold him right away, and he was with me, and all of those positive things, absolutely. But to go through life knowing I haven't done what a woman's supposed to do is quite traumatic. And I said to my birth trauma midwife at the visit, is I'm talking about possibly having a third, and I don't know if I'm talking about that because I genuinely want a third, or do I want a third because I'm chasing this positive, euphoric, amazing birth experience that I've never had. But it's also not set in stone. What I will be saying is, if I ever do go on to have a third, it will not be at Bedford. I would literally rather give birth in the street, like in my street, in front of all my neighbours. I'm sure they'd rather I didn't do that than give birth at Bedford. I would absolutely have all of my antenatal care at Bedford, because that was second to none. Like, I'm not sure if I had a third whether I'd be classed as high risk again or not. I think that's something I would have to ask before even considering getting pregnant. I do have a listening appointment with the hospital, like a birth review, so I think I might ask them then, if I ever go on to have another one, would I be classed as high risk. So I would probably likely have my antenatal care there, but actually give birth somewhere else. In all honesty, I think I would actually choose to go to Cambridge and go to Addenbrooke's, because Milton Keynes doesn't have the best write-up either, and I've never been to Northampton, and if I'm going to Northampton I might as well go to Cambridge, to be honest. It's basically the same distance. And if obviously Tommy had a neonatal stay at Addenbrooke's, and he had his hernia operation at Addenbrooke's, and granted I haven't been in their labour ward or anything, but if their care in maternity is as good as it is with neonatal and the children's ward, then it would be absolutely perfect. So yeah, if I was to have a third, then yes, I would likely have my antenatal care still at Bedford, because obviously if I was high risk, I'd be having appointments every 2 weeks, and driving 45 minutes is not ideal. But yeah, we move. So yeah, I think that's what I do. But again, who knows if we will have a third. Cost of living and mortgage prices and things, it's likely we probably won't. Or am I chasing the birth experience? Am I chasing having a girl? just all of these things, yeah, it goes round in your head. I do have an Ocean Team appointment again in the beginning of July, so I'll probably update you in another video about that. Probably I'm going to do sort of an update when he has his 8-week check and 8-week jabs. So if I have my appointment around then, because I need to change it, then I'll probably whack it in with that video. But I'm going to call this video a day, because it's about to stop recording, and I've rambled on for way too long. But I hope you found this helpful, and I hope, you know, me being as raw and honest as I possibly can has been helpful. Hopefully it's not been too much, and yeah, I just wanted to be open and honest and let you know that motherhood isn't always a walk in the park. It's lovely, but it can be a struggle from time to time for some of these reasons, or reasons that you guys may be going through. And if you're happy to share, please do share those in the comments. You know, the bits you don't enjoy or you struggled with. But yes, I'm gonna go. Please do consider subscribing to my channel if you are enjoying my content, and I look forward to seeing you in my next video. Bye guys.